491 visa is not a visa new to all of you. You already have information about the point test and the eligibility criteria for this visa. However, what I'm going to cover today are some of the bright sides of the 491 visa, which you probably are not aware of. So let's get started. First of all, 491 is not a TR visa, it is a skilled work regional provisional visa. So unlike a TR visa, wherein after you get your TR visa and you've lived in Australia and you now want to move to a permanent resident visa, you need to fulfill the requirements in terms of clearing the point test, taking your English proficiency tests again, nominating an occupation, and so on. But in 491, you do not need to do any such thing. After you've lived and worked in any occupation in Australia for 3 years out of 5 years, you are eligible to put up your application for a 191 visa, which is the permanent stage of this visa. And interestingly, the minimum income threshold that was associated with this visa. Now, when 491 visa was introduced, there was a caveat along with it that said that those who have lived in Australia on a 491 visa need to demonstrate an annual income of $53,900 per year. Now, this was a huge deterrent for many applicants because they were afraid they would not be able to probably earn that kind of income. When the TISMIT was increased from $53,900 to $70,000 a year, interestingly, the requirement for the minimum income required from 491 visa applicants was completely removed. So as on today, those who are applying for a 491 visa or those who are getting 491 visa do not need to prove any minimum income earned when they apply for a 191 visa. So that is something that has changed. Another thing that has changed is when the 491 visa was introduced, the medical was not free at that time, but at a later stage, the medicals are free for 491 visa applicants. In fact, some of our applicants have already availed huge benefits in terms of their health, examinations, surgeries, etc. And that has been totally taken care of by the government. It's been absolutely on the government. Now, what makes 491 visa special is that unlike other visa subclasses, 491 is a visa for which all three occupation lists are eligible. If your occupation is listed on the MLTSSL, the STSOL, or the ROL, 491 is the only visa wherein all the occupation lists are eligible. Therefore, obviously, for a 491 visa applicant, the number of occupations available are far, far larger as compared to other visa subclasses. Now, as far as the English proficiency is concerned, we do know that any English proficiency test, be it a PTE, TOEFL, or an IELTS test, the TRF is valid for 2 years. However, for Australia skilled migration, any English proficiency score is valid for 3 years, and this applies to subclass 491 as well. As you must be aware that you get 15 additional points for the nomination you get under 491, and therefore people who are just sitting at the edge are barely able to make it to 65 have far better chances of making it to 65 points with the help of these 15 points under subclass 491. Now, there is a requirement that applicants who apply for 491 must meet the health requirements and the police clearance. Now, in terms of the health requirement, I'd like to share with you that We've had applicants who've had very complicated medical histories, and they have been able to get their health clearance despite those medical conditions and get a 491 visa quite easily. Another interesting thing about 491 visa is that we've also had a lot of applicants who have been banned, who were subjected to PIC 4020, had a 3-year ban, or had been deported or removed from Australia, or had their visitor or student visa for Australia refused. Despite all the odds, they have been able to get a 491 visa. Also, some of the applicants who've lived in Australia earlier and had some outstanding debts can get their 491 visa. We've had clients who, when applied for their 491 visa, were asked by the DHA to clear the pending dues. Once they cleared the dues, the visas had been granted to them. And as you are aware, under the 491 visa, your work rights are similar to the work rights of a 189, 190 holder. That means you can work in any field or even be self employed. There is no restriction on the kind of employment you can take up. Now, a huge paradox concerning the 491 is whether you can switch states. That is, you may be nominated by an X state. Can you move to Y state? I do not recommend that. I've been always saying it consistently in my videos. Though your visa does not specify that you live in the nominating state for 3 years before you can apply for a 191, you are under obligation to live in the nominating state, and it is highly recommended that you continue to live in the regional areas of that state. Finally, once your 491 visa is granted and you move to Australia with your family, either of the two, usually the husband or wife, whoever meets the requirement of having lived and worked in regional Australia for 3 years, can put up an application for a 191, that is a permanent stage. So that will be it for today. If you have any further questions, please feel free to drop in an email or give us a call on 78498 7849.